This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. The question of the day, are events in China out of control? For the second day in a row, 1 million demonstrators have filled the streets of Beijing, and there have been demonstrations for democracy in all but 2 of China's 26 provinces and regions. In such a revolutionary situation, the atmosphere is pregnant with rumor. Will the government move troops in to break up the demonstrations? Premier Li Peng says Beijing is in a state of anarchy. And would the army do it if ordered? There are reports that the commander of a nearby army regiment has refused to move his men into the capital. We begin there with ABC's John Lawrence.
The giant square was becoming a village of tents as students camped out for the 6th night. Reports of military moves outside the city caused no alarm here. The students were more concerned with the basic necessities of their new lives as demonstrators. As for the Chinese army,
I don't think they will take action.
And if they come, I think they will not to do any harm to us, just the supporters. Army are people's army, and no problem.
Earlier in the day, there was a dramatic confrontation between Chinese government officials and leaders of the student hunger strike. It was shown on government-run television. Meeting in the Great Hall of the People, Premier Li Peng declared, "The social order of Beijing is in chaos. It may spread to other parts of the country. Beijing has fallen into a state of anarchy. The government," he warned, "cannot ignore this phenomenon." One of the student leaders who has been on the hunger strike since Saturday and is being given medical treatment was Wu Kaishi, a 21-year-old from Beijing Normal University. He accused the leaders of showing no sincerity in solving the problem. "It is not necessary," he said, "for us to talk with you anymore." Soon after that, he collapsed and was taken to the hospital. By American standards, this extraordinary meeting was as if, at the height of the anti-war demonstrations in Chicago in 1968, President Johnson had met with radical activists Abby Hoffman and Tom Hayden, and it had then been shown on the network news. This meeting ended in polite disagreement. In the streets of Beijing, mass demonstrations snaked through the city in support of the students and defiance of the government. There was the feeling of a carnival, good-natured and free-spirited, as people from all walks of life took part. Some are learning the victory symbol slowly. And even though it rained on their parade, it did not dampen the newfound sense of freedom these people feel. There were more and more signs of discontent with the government, particularly the 84-year-old leader, Deng Xiaoping.
It is very important to let the people in the world to know the situation in China. Deng Xiaoping is very stubborn. He should go down, immediately. That's very important.
There were more and more signs of respect for the founder of Communist China, Mao Zedong, whose incorruptible leadership, if not his philosophy, is still appreciated by many. At Tiananmen Square, so many students were collapsing from lack of food that it was taking on the appearance of a disaster area. The hunger strikers were moved to buses to shield them from the rain and the unsanitary conditions in the square. Some of their professors showed up to support them.
I'm a teacher. I want to stand with my students.
Some of the students are now refusing medical treatment as well as food and water. The Red Cross appealed to them to reconsider. So dangerous is it to their health. And now it is Friday here, the start of the 7th day of the hunger strike. There will be more demonstrations, more marches, more protests today, amid signs, but no certainty, that the government and the students are moving closer to a confrontation no one wants to see. John Lawrence, ABC News, Tiananmen Square, Beijing.
Well, the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev certainly has strong impressions to take home with him. He stopped in Shanghai today on his way back to Moscow, and once again he could not miss what is happening in this springtime of demand. ABC's Todd Carroll is in Shanghai.
With a bouquet of flowers, Mikhail Gorbachev paid tribute to Russian poet Alexander Pushkin at the end of a journey that healed a 30-year breach in relations with China. Then the Soviet leader bantered with some of Shanghai's people, saying it was time to put differences behind them and displaying a relaxed public posture that many Chinese would like to see in their own leaders. When he left today, he left behind a Chinese leadership that is struggling to contain a popular challenge to its legitimacy. Even with Mikhail Gorbachev coming through town, the main focus of attention in this city is here, in front of the Communist Party headquarters, where tens of thousands have gathered to press their campaign for democracy. China's most populous city, its commercial center, birthplace of the Communist Party, is in quiet rebellion. Along the waterfront by the Huangpu River, where ships from around the world come into port, protesters clog the streets. The police just looked on. Nearly 100 hunger strikers, haggard, pained, solemn students from the city's top universities stayed here for the second full day, calling for honest talks with local party leaders.
I want them to admit their mistakes.
Jiang Jingdi, a postal worker, said she was striking because of high prices and wants more money, not just democracy and freedom. The demonstrators, some of them workers, snarled traffic all day, stopping buses, even halting an army of bicycles, all for the cause of political reform that has won the hearts and the fervor of many here. Todd Carroll, ABC News, Shanghai.
And Mr. Gorbachev did arrive home in Moscow late this evening, just in time to be briefed on the latest demands for change in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Republic of Lithuania declared itself sovereign today. Both Lithuania and Estonia, two of the Baltic states, passed additional laws giving themselves more local independence than Moscow wants to allow. When we come back, the day's other news. The Speaker of the House and political survival. It is getting rough. And later in the broadcast, the chairman of Exxon and the angry stockholders. And on the American agenda tonight, boot camp for young offenders. Tough on the body and a challenge for the mind.